we can safely and calmly start spending from our deepest savings without any worry or concern. Now let us talk about something that most people completely overlook and never even think about. The timing of your walk relative to your meals matters much more than most people realize. Walking in the morning before your first meal places you in a naturally low insulin state already. In that low insulin state, the door to your fat storage is already slightly open and ready. This means your body can begin accessing deeper fat reserves earlier in the walk than usual. It is a subtle shift in timing that can produce a meaningfully different hormonal environment for burning fat. Evening walks, on the other hand, come with their own unique set of benefits worth knowing. A short walk after dinner can gently blunt the insulin spike that follows a large meal. By keeping insulin from spiking too high, you create a friendlier environment for fat mobilization later. Even a walk as short as 10 minutes after eating can make a genuine hormonal difference. It does not need to be a long, intense session to create that meaningful metabolic shift for you. Consistency over time matters far more than any single perfect walk you could ever possibly take. Every walk you take is a vote you cast telling your body that movement is your normal routine. And over time, your body adapts and becomes more efficient at burning fat during every single walk.
This is what scientists call metabolic flexibility, and it is one of the most powerful adaptations possible. Now we reach the final stage, stage 5, which begins the moment you stop walking entirely. Many people believe that when you stop walking, the fat-burning process immediately and completely shuts off. But your metabolism does not work that way at all. It does not slam on the brakes. Even as you sit down to rest after a walk, your fat oxidation remains higher than normal. Your body keeps burning fat at an elevated rate even after the movement itself has completely stopped. This effect is commonly known as the afterburn, and it is one of walking's most underrated benefits. Walking does not just work while you are moving, it actually trains your body for the long term. It trains your body to become a smarter, more flexible, and more efficient fat-burning machine over time. Think of metabolic flexibility like a smart appliance that switches seamlessly between battery and outlet power. No flicker, no pause. Just smooth, effortless switching between fuel sources at exactly the right moment. In the past, fitness messages often told people they had to burn all carbs before fat could start. That outdated message made short walks seem completely pointless and discouraging to so many people. But modern research tells a much more nuanced and encouraging story about how fuel usage actually works. You are burning a blend of fuels almost all the time. Not one fuel exclusively at a time. That blend simply shifts based on your intensity, your walk duration, and what you have recently eaten. Even a steady, low-intensity walk can rely very heavily on fat as its dominant fuel source. In fact, researchers use a term called fat max to describe the intensity that maximizes fat oxidation. Fat max is not a sprint. It is not an exhausting, gasping, all-out effort at all. Fat max is a manageable, sustainable, comfortable pace that almost any person can maintain with ease. The surprise is that this comfortable intensity is actually the sweet spot for peak fat oxidation. You do not have to suffer to burn fat. You just have to move consistently and steadily. MRI imaging studies have confirmed that structured walking programs produce a real and visible reduction in visceral fat. This was not just measured on a scale, it was seen directly inside the body with imaging. Real fat surrounding real organs actually shrank in direct response to consistent and regular walking programs. That is the kind of evidence that changes how you think about something as simple as walking. Now, let us talk about something most people never consider, and that is the power of frequency. How often you walk matters just as much as, if not more than, how long each walk is. 2 30-minute walks per day can be more effective than one single long 60-minute session.
But here is where hope walks in, quite literally, through the front door of your life. Exercise, even something as gentle as a simple walk, can actually shrink that stubborn visceral fat. This happens even when the number on your bathroom scale has not moved even one bit. Major studies from leading medical journals have confirmed that movement forces visceral fat to evacuate. And the more effort you put into every step, the more that evacuation picks up speed. But we must stay alert because visceral fat is one of the most silent intruders. It does not hurt when it builds up. It does not make you feel obviously tired. It sends no warning signals. It simply stacks up quietly while you go about your day. Think of it like quietly stacking old crates in a locked storeroom at the end of a hallway. You go about your entire life happy and totally unaware of what is building up there, until one day the pile becomes so massive that the door bursts open and cannot close. That is the exact moment when serious health problems come suddenly and unexpectedly crashing in. But before you blame yourself, please understand that your body is not working against you here. Your body is actually performing its duty to protect you with absolute devotion and care. Visceral fat is not there to ruin your health or to make your life miserable. It acts like a very cautious emergency reserve fund your body keeps just in case. Your body is simply trying to store energy in the safest place it possibly knows. It worries you might need that energy later, so it holds on as tight as possible. The real question becomes, how do we gently convince our body that letting go is safe? How do we tell our body that it is perfectly fine to start spending from deep storage? This is exactly where walking steps in and quietly shows its most powerful and surprising ability. Walking is one of the very few activities that can flip metabolic switches without triggering alarms. It does not panic your body. It simply whispers that things are safe and under control. Think of this whole process like a movie slowly and carefully revealing its most important plot points. We are searching for the golden moment when visceral fat is finally invited into the furnace. But first, we need to clear up a very common myth that most people still believe. Many people imagine fat burning like a vacuum cleaner just sucking fat straight out of the belly. Unfortunately, biology does not work with that kind of simple, easy point-and-shoot style at all. Your body operates more like a disciplined budget management system with several very different accounts. First, there is the checking account, which is your blood sugar, always ready for instant use. Then there is the petty cash, which is the glycogen stored in your liver and muscles. And finally, there is the long-term savings account, which is your stored body fat reserves. Within that savings account, there are different branches, including subcutaneous fat and visceral fat deposits. Walking does not act like a laser pointer targeting just one specific branch of those reserves. Instead, it changes the entire spending rules of your body's internal bank from the core. Now let us begin the timeline of this metabolic journey, stage by exciting stage, step by step. Stage 1 begins the moment you take your very first steps and runs through minute 3. This is the ignition phase, the moment your muscles suddenly wake up and demand energy fast. Your muscles need ATP, those tiny but essential energy coins that power every movement you make. At this very early stage, your body behaves like a smart system facing a sudden demand. It uses whatever fuel is already floating freely in your bloodstream to immediately pay that bill. This fuel is mostly blood glucose, a small amount of free fatty acids, and muscle fuel. Fat burning is not switched off at this stage, but it is certainly not leading the way. Your body at this point is like a hybrid car just slowly pulling out of a parking spot. It uses whatever is most immediately available to make sure the engine does not stall at all. From your very first step, your nervous system ramps up and begins mobilizing your body's resources. Hormones like norepinephrine rise quickly to help prepare your entire system for what might come next. But even with the engine running, your body is still watching carefully and asking one key question. Are we committed to something serious here, or is this just a short walk to the corner? This is what we call the resistance phase, and it is completely normal and expected. Your body is not lazy at all. It simply wants to make sure the effort is worth it. It wants to be certain that reorganizing its entire fuel delivery system is completely justified right now. So keep walking, keep your pace steady, and let your body know this movement is real.
because once it believes you are committed, everything about its fuel strategy starts to change noticeably. Now we enter stage 2, which runs from roughly minute 3 all the way to minute 10. This is where your body's fuel blend begins making a truly noticeable and significant internal shift. If you keep your pace steady, a real and meaningful change begins unfolding inside your body. Your breathing and heart rate settle into a smooth, comfortable, and rhythmic groove of steady movement. Your body now begins to realize that this is not a sprint or a life or death emergency. With that realization, it starts leaning much more heavily on fat as a primary fuel source. It begins funneling fat into the mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside every one of your cells. Scientists track this critical shift using something called the respiratory exchange ratio, or RER for short.
A lower ratio tells us the body is leaning more toward fat as its preferred energy source. A higher ratio means your body is relying more heavily on carbohydrates to fuel your movement. Now, this is the perfect time to completely destroy a classic myth many people still hold. Many people believe that fat burning only truly begins after 20 or even 30 full minutes of walking. But the actual physiology tells a much more dynamic and exciting story than that old belief. Fuel usage inside your body shifts constantly, and fat actually begins joining the process much earlier. It is simply that as your walk gets longer, fat contribution grows more prominent and dominant. So the big takeaway from this stage is simple and genuinely encouraging for every single person. Fat becomes a meaningful part of your energy mix much earlier than most people ever realize. Not because you hit some magic number on a stopwatch, but because your body found stability. The signal your body responds to here is steady demand combined with a low sense of threat. Walking is essentially your way of whispering to your body, "We are safe, we are okay." It is safe to reach into the slow-burning fuel reserves and start spending from them now. Now we move into stage 3, which begins around minute 10 and runs to minute 20. This is where the energy gates of your body truly begin swinging open wide and fully. We are now getting much closer to the results you have genuinely been searching and waiting for.
Burning the fat already circulating in your blood is one thing, but going deeper requires more. To tap into those deep reserves, your body must unlock specific vaults hidden inside your fat cells. Think of your fat cells as pantries in your home, packed tightly with stored energy inside. Energy inside those cells is stored in the form of triglycerides, tightly packed and densely bundled. To use this energy, your body must first release it, then transport it, and then burn it. This unlocking process is controlled tightly by two opposing and very powerful hormonal forces in your body. On one side stands insulin, the hormone that keeps your fat locked away like a careful guardian. Insulin essentially sends one clear signal to your body: do not withdraw anything from storage right now. On the other side stand catecholamines, the mobilizing hormones that act like powerful and urgent pushers. They send a strong and clear signal that says, "We need fuel, open the pantry right now." Throughout your walk, these hormones begin stimulating the process of lipolysis, which simply means fat breakdown. Even at low intensities, the enzymes responsible for unlocking fat can ramp up their activity quickly. The 10 to 20 minute window is often when fat release becomes most steady and consistent. Your muscles are now fully primed and ready to run efficiently on fat as their main fuel. The body has confirmed that the energy demand is real and steady, and the duration is serious.
It is now shifting confidently from quick fuel handling over to efficient long-haul fat transport. This is why so many people feel that walking truly clicks and gets easier around this stage. Your body is warmed up, your movements feel smoother, and your breathing feels effortless and natural. Now we arrive at stage 4, which spans from roughly minute 20 all the way to minute 40. This is the stage where visceral fat truly takes center stage and becomes more significant than ever. There is a subtle but very important point to understand before we go any further here. Your body does not label each fatty acid molecule with a tag saying it came from visceral fat. However, visceral fat has unique biological characteristics that make it highly responsive under the right conditions. Especially for those who carry a significant amount of it, visceral fat is metabolically very active. So when exactly does visceral fat truly step forward and actively join the fat-burning conversation? The most honest scientific answer is that it contributes meaningfully when three specific conditions align together. First, your insulin levels must be low enough so that fat release is not being blocked. Second, your walk must be long enough for your body to maintain a steady fat-burning stage. Third, your intensity must stay at a low to moderate level throughout the entire duration of movement. This ensures your body does not have to switch back to carbohydrates as its emergency fuel. This is why the golden window for visceral fat burning can vary so much from person to person. If you walk right after a meal high in sugar or carbs, insulin levels will be elevated. Elevated insulin effectively locks all the gates on fat release and makes fat mobilization much harder. On the other hand, if you walk several hours after eating, lower insulin levels make things easier. Lower insulin means the gates are open and fat can be mobilized and burned far more efficiently. Also remember that walking too intensely can actually work against your goal of burning visceral fat. If you power walk up a steep hill until you are gasping, your body shifts into emergency mode. In emergency mode, your body switches away from fat and back toward a carbohydrate-heavy fuel pattern. So the clearest answer for most people is to keep your walk steady and comfortable throughout. Visceral fat is most likely to be actively involved during that 20 to 40-minute window, especially if you are moving at a comfortable pace where you can still speak in full sentences. The 20-minute mark is not magic by itself, it is simply when your body has settled in. By then, fat mobilization is more consistent, and your body relies less on quick glucose for fuel. Your body at this stage is responding to sustained energy demand and protecting its emergency fuel wisely. Walking at this point tells your body there is no panic needed and no emergency happening right now.
Picture this. You just finished a meal and decided to take a short, easy walk outside. Maybe a stroll through the park, or just a quick trip to take out the trash. And then you do that thing almost every person does without even thinking about it. You reach down and gently press your hand against the soft part of your belly. And you silently ask yourself, is any of this walking actually doing anything real at all? Or am I just moving my body for no real reason at all right now? This question quietly lives in the back of so many people's minds every single day. Visceral fat is tucked away deep inside your body, wrapped tightly around your internal organs. It hides like a stubborn, thick layer of padding that no mirror can ever show you. You cannot grab it with your fingers the way you can with the fat under skin. It stays completely hidden until the day your belt suddenly needs another notch to close. But here is a truth that will genuinely surprise you if you have never heard it. Your body can actually begin mobilizing fat for energy within just a few minutes of movement. But whether visceral fat truly joins that process depends on a very specific set of signals. These signals are chemical, hormonal, and deeply connected to what your body has recently eaten. To truly understand this, we need to talk about the most important organ in your body. We need to talk about your liver, the quiet chief executive of your entire metabolism. Most people only think of the liver as something that filters out alcohol and toxins. But the truth is, your liver is like the busiest airport hub you have ever seen. Every single second, it is deciding where energy should go, land, or take off from. It constantly asks critical questions to manage your body's fuel with absolute precision and care. Is there fresh sugar coming in from that meal you just had an hour ago? Is insulin blocking the exits so your body cannot release the fat it has stored? Are your muscles sending urgent signals saying they desperately need fuel to keep you moving? These are the exact questions your liver is asking while you take each single step. And this is exactly where visceral fat reveals its deeply troubling and very special relationship. Visceral fat is different from all other fat because it has a private, exclusive highway. This highway is called the portal vein, and it leads directly straight into your liver. That private connection makes visceral fat far more dangerous than any other fat in your body. Imagine a warehouse built right next to your main factory with its own private delivery entrance. When that warehouse becomes overstocked with too much inventory, it disrupts the entire production line. That is exactly what happens when visceral fat builds up close to your liver over time. Scientific research has shown that as visceral fat grows, cardiovascular and metabolic risks grow too.